Yeah, g'day YouTubers. Tinker O'Toole again here with another video. Beautiful, fantastic day up here in central Victoria, Australia. We're only a couple of days off our summer. It's going to be about 34 degrees today, so I'm going to get into a bit of splitting. There's the old trunk. This tree here has been dead for about 20 years, so it's hard as a rock. And when it fell down, it took a few of the branches off that one. That's why you see a few branches over there. But this tree's dead, been dead for 20 years and quite big. There's parts of it there as well. So we just took delivery of the Gransfors Bruks. I've just unpacked it, and it comes with this little book as well. Has a bit of a leather sheath on it. That's what it looks like. There's the name, Gransfors Bruks, stamped on there. Also has the guy initials, YT, overstrike protector. It's reasonable sharp. It's certainly not blunt. And beautiful handle on it, overstrike protector. So what we're going to do, we've got a few splitting axes to try. We're going to try the Stihl oxen cough, as well as the Cyclone block splitter. That's that one there. And we're going to try putting this splitting wedge into a piece of grey box. It's almost about 1.5 foot in diameter. It was a dead tree for about 20 years on the property. We chopped it down into small length rounds of about just over 1 foot, and we're going to see this is rock hard. This is going to be a challenge. What we're going to do is try and split in the middle. You normally don't split in the middle, but I want to see how these splitting axes and mauls stand up to splitting in hard eucalypt that's been grey box. It's been in the paddock for 20 years. So we'll try that and we'll see how we go. Right, so now we've got 3 splitting mauls. What I'm going to do is use this wedge on an old piece of grey box that was in the paddock, been dead for 20 years. It's all been cut up. And we're going to try the Stihl oxen cough. Right, so we'll try this one first, just to see what happens, how hard the wood is. We'll try and split it with the Stihl oxen cough. Now, we're going to split in the middle, and you normally don't split in the middle, but I want to split in the middle just to see how hard this wood really is. Then we'll attempt to split it in one of the cracks. So we'll try this one, then we'll try the Cyclone 2.5 kg polished block splitter. And last of all, we'll try the Gransfors Bruks and give that a bit of a workout. And I'll tell you what I really think of it. It looks like it's really well made. Very expensive. This is $63. And that's $293, I think it was. So, big difference. Comes with a leather pouch as well. That's the leather pouch for it. And that was the little book that came with it as well. Some nice information in there as well. So, yeah, so that's not a bad price, $293, because it was on special. And it's certainly the dearest maul that I've ever brought. And if you look up, we'll just give you a little bit of a tour here. You have a look, well, you have a look on this. We're in the shipper container, and Got some axes there, splitting mauls there. We've got some more splitting mauls, some more Stihls over here. Husqvarna. Then we've got the Fiscus Isocore, Cyclone Super Block Splitter, the S-Wing. Then we've got a whole series, another Husqvarna, and some Stihl and Fiscus, and another Stihl splitting axe, and the Cyclone block splitter as well. So there's quite a few, so this is probably the last one I'll buy because it doesn't get much better than probably the Gransfors Bruk's splitting maul model 450. So we'll give it a bit of a workout, and the others as well. So as I said, we'll start with the splitting wedge and see how that goes. Go to the splitting axe, go to the block splitter, and last we'll try the Gransfors Bruk's and see how it all goes, and we'll have an end conclusion. Aussie hardwood. You watch this, how many times it just bounces off. That's about 54 times, and all it bloody does is have a look at that chips, right? 54 times. We'll give it a little bit more. That's what happens with Aussie hardwood. So you can imagine with your splitting axe, right? Hit it in the middle. Got no hope of busting this wood open. This is Australian grey box. The only way you're going to split this, if you go zoom back out, you'll see the cracks. Got some cracks around here. Nice one there. Look, if you put this in here, you may actually have a little bit of hope of trying to split it. You could try it, see what happens. You see, this has been out in the paddock for 20 years, hard as a rock. Oh yeah, you have all these people overseas splitting softwood. Come over here to Australia and split some grey box that's been sitting out in the paddock for 20 years. Okay, so we've got a very old piece of grey box that's been sitting out the paddock for a long time. And what I'd like to show you is one thing with Australian hardwood, it doesn't have straight fibres like that. It has interlocking and twisted fibres. And because of that, it is extremely difficult to split. It's a lot easier to split when it's green, but when it dries out, because it goes a lot more brittle, it's much harder for those fibres to break apart. And I had a splitting wedge, a steel splitting wedge, and we hit it about 50 times there, and all it did was just make little chips. Now, a lot of people overseas with soft wood to medium wood will tell you that a splitting axe or a splitting maul doesn't have to be sharp. Well, here in Australia, it's the opposite. The reason it needs to be sharp, it's got to get in the wood in the first place to try and split it open. If the maul
or the splitting axe is blunt, all it will do, and if you zoom in there, all it's going to do is make little tiny chips like what you can see there. So that's where the Stihl wedge just made chips, and this is exactly what's going to happen with this splitting axe from Stihl. It weighs a total of we'll just have a look on the handle, I've got it written on there, 3.9 kilos total weight. So it's 2.5 kg on the head, plus with the metal ferrule brings it up to about 2.8 and just over a kilo for the handle. So I'm pretty sure that repeated hitting, all it's going to do with this is going to make chips. Now, it would be it would be a lot easier if I tried to split it where the cracks were. There's plenty of cracks here, especially that one and that one. And you see people overseas and they're splitting in the middle. Well, here in Australia with eucalypt timber, you don't split in the middle. So what we will do is hit it in the middle, and this is quite sharp, right? And I had to profile the angle. It's just over 40 degrees, and if it's not sharp it won't penetrate. But I think what's going to happen here, it's not going to do much damage and it's not going to split by hitting in the middle, but we'll try it out anyway. Well, that was about 30 hits. Have a look what that did. All as it did is create a deep channel. Why didn't it split? Because those fibres are all being crushed. It's that hard. And even though that the axe is sharp, it can't penetrate the wood and split it open because it's too bloody hard. So you'll see people overseas with a splitting axe and it's sharp in softwood and it gets stuck. As you can see how hard this is, all you end up is with chips. So yeah, Aussie hardwood, grey box, 15 kilonewtons, twisted, entangled fibres, dry hard, and that's why you can't split it. The only way you're going to split this is where the cracks are. It's the only way you're going to split it. Anyway, I hope that information helps. If you ever get the chance to split dried out Australian hardwood, have a look at that. That is unbelievable. Thanks for watching. What we've got here is a 2.5 kg head weight of the Cyclone 2.5 kg polished block splitter from Cyclone Australia. With the handle, got a total weight of 3.7 kg. I want to try and split in the middle. I know it's normally you never split in the middle, right? But I just want to do it as a bit of an experiment because eventually I'm going to split it on the cracks. But I just want to see how this block splitter works. This log was cut down from a tree that was standing for 20 years. So it's 20 years standing, so it was dead for 20 years. It's as hard as a rock. When we tried the Stihl splitting axe, all as it done was made a bit of a channel in there. So what we're going to do is probably strike it about here, do about 30 or 40 hits and see what happens. I'm imagining the same thing's going to happen. Well, there you go. All as I did was make the channel longer. Just goes to show you, when you've got a tree, it's been dead for 20 years, how hard the timber can be. The fibres are just interlocked, woven over. Because it's dried, they're not flexible. They won't pull apart. So what we're going to do, this is the weakest point there, another crack there. We've got another axe to try, and then we're going to try split it where the crack is. Okay, so this is the moment I was waiting for to test out my Gransfors Bruks. Split in Maul. And one thing is where it's really made well is that they flare out the top of the handle. I always found out that when you flare them out up at the top like that, less chance of coming loose. So what we're going to do is try and split here, right? We'll hit it with about 20 or 30 hits and we'll see how we go. Well, that was about 30 hits, and as you can see, done nothing. All as we did is make this channel bigger. I've never found a harder piece of wood than this piece of wood. Hardest wood I've ever tried to split in my life. Now, what we will do, there's a large crack here. We'll try and split it there. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll give it a go. Okay, so what we're going to do now, there's the split. You see a little bit of a gap there? That's where we tried putting the split in wedge and done nothing. So what we're going to do, try and split it there and see what happens. Wow. just seems like it's getting stuck. I haven't heard now. All it's doing is just rutting that out now. You're not going to split this piece of wood. No Maul is going to split this. We've got a piece of pine and that'll split it easy, so we'll give that a go. Okay, so we've gone from one extreme to the other. Pinus radiata should split pretty easy. We'll give this a go. Doesn't get much easier than that. The other thing I notice with the Gransfors Bruks, what they've done to the handle is it's almost like an embossing roll has gone over it, which is good. You get a great grip on it. Okay, so now a bit of a conclusion. The metal wedge, that was the first one that we tried on the grey box, done nothing. The Stihl splitting axe, total weight 3.9 kg, done nothing. The log splitter from or block splitter from Cyclone Australia, 2.5 kg, total weight with a handle of about 3.8, done nothing. The the Gransfors Bruks, one in front of us, as I thought, it just rutted out the top of the log, done nothing. Then we went to the pine, and that pine's about 6 months, still not fully dry. It would split a bit easier if it had another 6 months to dry out. Now the interesting thing, didn't matter whether you had concave cheeks like the Gransfors Bruks, it's concaved, 25-degree wedge and about a 45-degree on the secondary bevel with a slight convex on that cutting edge. The other thing to bear in mind, the reason I wanted to do this experiment on the Eucalypt was to prove one thing, that it didn't matter what sort of maul that you got, you weren't going to bust that piece of 20-year-old wood open. It just goes to show you, not many people would probably get access to a dead tree that was 20 years old, if not more. It's 20 years old that I know of, and it was dead when I got this property. So it could be 30, 40 years old, but it is ancient. You can even tell, if you actually look here, you can see where it's all rotted away, right? So that's taken many, many years, but it's still that tough. So it's interesting why it is so tough to bust open. It's because that's entanglement of the fibres. They're not parallel, they're twisted, and they're entangled. So you've got a twist in motion and an entanglement at the same time. Some fibres are just twisted, some got slight entanglement, but eucalypts are really entangled, some species more so than the others. Certainly the grey box would be right up there. So there's not much that you can do to bust this open except use a hydraulic splitter. Now in softwood it's a totally different story, and unfortunately I don't have much softwood except a few bits of pine laying around that I come across every now and again, and they're pretty easy to split open. In that situation, in your softer wood that is easy to split open, the design of the splitting axe or the splitting maul can make a difference. But if you have a look at the Aussie block splitter, it's only a 30-degree wedge, and it's pretty simple and doesn't get much more simple than a 30-degree wedge shape like that. Not convexed, no hollow cheeks. It's as simple as what you can get, but it works quite well. Probably the two things that are most important in splitting wood is the length of the handle. This is 800mm. Normally a splitting maul's 900, but they've got an 800mm. I like the 800mm length. And the weight of the head, right? So the total combination of this is 3.7 kg, I think it is. I'll just have a look on the handle. 3.6. So you've got a total weight there of 3.6 kilograms. Not a bad size. You can swing that for quite a number of hours before you get tired. Look, I hope this information helps. Splitting softwood, I don't believe putting a video up there on YouTube on splitting softwood is beneficial, because anyone can split softwood. Medium to hardwood is a different story, and as you've seen in hardwood, I couldn't even split that. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye for now.